It is one of the most iconic studio microphones and loved by voiceover artists since it was introduced. The Rode NT1 has long become the benchmark for affordable studio microphones, and now it just got an upgrade. But while everyone is gushing over the 32-bit float as being the reason this microphone's going to shine, I think it's something else completely. In fact, this is a huge game changer. But before I tell you why, let's get the usual stuff out of the way. Yes, this is basically the same as the last Gen NT1, but there are some small aesthetic changes here. The mic is ever so slightly shorter now, and the bottom of the mic is less tapered. The bottom cap is also just a bit smaller, but other than that, basically the same. Also, the new one is ever so slightly lighter, only 308 grams, and the old one was 326 grams, which is a bit odd considering this one has the converters for the USB connection. Must be the slightly smaller body. And of course, the only other difference is down here in the XLR port. Yep, that's a USB-C connection. And I do also want to send out some props to Rode for including these cables. You've got an XLR cable as well as a USB-C. And most companies like to cheap out on these cables. Not Rode. Both of these are really, really nice cables. Now, you might think that the specs are going to be the same, considering it is still an NT1. But no, there are actually some slight variations. So let's just do the list. This is a cardioid condenser microphone. It's 20 Hz to 20 kHz. It has a max SPL of 142 dB, which, by the way, is up 10 dB from the last iteration. Sensitivity of neg 32 dBV per Pascal, which is less sensitive than the 4th gen. And an equivalent noise level of 4 dBA weighted, which is half a dB less than the last one. That's some impressive stuff there, Rode. As for the USB end of things, it is a 32-bit float interface with a sample rate up to 192 kHz. And probably one of the coolest features, onboard DSP or digital signal processing. This includes all the goodies that came with their affix like compression, EQ, noise reduction, and presets. And of course, this is the frequency response graphs. Now, I've seen a lot of people saying these are different, but try as I might, I don't see it. These are the exact same graphs. Now let's take a look at the off-axis rejection of the 5th Gen NT1. This is me speaking about 4 inches off the front of the capsule. Now I'm about 4 inches off the side of the capsule. And now I'm speaking directly into the rear of the capsule of the NT1. Now let's take a look at the plosive rejection of the 5th Gen NT1. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Now let's take a look at the proximity effect of the Rode NT1. This is me speaking about 4 inches off the front of the capsule. Now I'm directly on top of the capsule. 4 inches, directly on top. Okay then, let's take a look at the NT1 32-bit float ability for recovering data beyond 0 dB, okay? When you're recording into a specific DAW, not all DAWs work at this. You can actually gain down if you've peaked and retain all that information beyond 0 dB. Now, I'm in Adobe Audition at the moment, and this is one of the DAWs where it doesn't work in. So I'm going to peak, and you're going to see how distorted it can get. Let's gain up. Now we have the Rode NT1 peaking. And this is what it sounds like. All of that stuff beyond 0 dB is gone, even when I gain it down. Now we're in Studio One and we're once again peaking. However, when I gain it down, this is actually what it sounds like. This is horrifically peaking audio. Again, I still have it at 50 dB for gain on the NT1, and this is what it sounds like. You don't hear any peaking because once you gain it down, all of that information is retrieved beyond 0 dB. Very cool. So as we go back and forth between the XLR version, which is this, and this, the USB, let's discuss what this 32-bit means. No, it isn't going to help you live, in case that's something you're hoping for. You still can't peak without distortion in that regards. That said, the combination of the 32-bit and the included effects, you will probably get some fantastic dynamic range. That said, the use of the peak protection with the 32-bit is completely referring to fixing it in post. Meaning, if your DAW allows it, you can just hit record and normalize everything in post without all that pesky distortion from peaking. But, that aside, what do you think as I go back and forth between the NT1 on XLR, going through my Scarlett 2i2, and this being the Rode NT1 through USB. You ever feel like there's something covering your face? This is the only test I think that matters between the NT1 5th gen here and the NT1, I guess we can call it 4th gen. I actually got this last year, late last year, so it should be 4th gen. This is the blackout, this is the silver, so you can easily tell which is which. Now, they do offer the 5th gen in black as well, I believe, but as I go between these two microphones, can you tell a difference? Both of them are pointed right at the corner of my mouth, and I am barely 2.5 inches away from both. What do you think? Is there a difference as I go between them here? Again, this is really the only test that matters with the 5th gen NT1. Because of the added circuitry, we need to know whether or not the sound of the NT1 changed when they added all of that. Let me know what you think down below. All right, so I'm not going to take a lot of time going through some of the more affordable microphones and the other microphones on the list, but I just wanted to give you a bit of a comparison. This is the AKG P420, and this is the NT1, the new 5th gen. Which one do you like? Let's move on to the next. Now we have the LCT 440 up against the new 5th gen NT1. What do you think as I hop between them? Now we have one of my favorite mics that I've reviewed over the past year. This is the Austrian Audio OC16, and it's up against the 5th gen NT1. Which one do you like? The Rode NT1 or the Austrian Audio OC16? Okay, here we go. You know what? Complete props to Rode for getting this microphone out. 32-bit float is awesome and a really cool addition to the USB market. And again, even more props to Rode for actually moving USB microphones forward instead of the same old cookie cutter microphones that everyone else was releasing. I mean, this thing is the future. It's very cool. But it isn't the biggest reason this microphone is one of the best releases in recent memory. You see, at least once a month, a voiceover artist messages me and asks the exact same question. What is a good USB mic that I can take on the road? Something they can just throw in a bag and not have to tear up their main rig as they go on holidays or just away from home in general. And the answer has always been nothing. I mean, before this, what USB microphone are you going to pick to replace something like an MKH416? There literally was nothing on the market. And really, in the end, everyone just lugged their rig around. This microphone, though, changes that. You have to remember, some companies won't even take your audio if it's recorded on anything less than an approved microphone. And guess what? The NT1 is on most of those lists. Now, this is the microphone that I will be recommending to any and all VO professionals that are on the road. And that's really cool. All right, then, pros. I mean, this thing's cool, hands down. I don't know what else to say. As for the cons, again, it is really hard to find anything. I can see some people being put off by not being able to directly monitor from the mic itself, though you can just monitor through your computer headphone out. Otherwise, perhaps the fact that you can't do USB and XLR at the same time. I mean, I have no use for doing it, but I do know a lot of people that like to have both signals. That said, how much you want to bet Rode is going to be releasing a combo cable with both connections? If Rode does that, feel free to send me a finder's fee. Just saying. Now, I think the best way to address this question is this. The rest of the industry has to catch up to Rode. They're quickly becoming a runaway horse with all things audio. Nothing matches the Rodecaster Pro 2. They have two of the best gaming mics and system in the industry built on amazing apps like Unify. They have mics with onboard DSP like this one, and quite possibly the best effects. And now they have a professional-grade voiceover quality microphone that offers USB connectivity. It's becoming really difficult to not put them at the top of the list when looking at recommendations. And this microphone is a huge part of that. It's another great release, and honestly, yeah, a pretty easy recommendation. Let me know what you think, though, down below. And if you're interested in more things Rode, check this out.